We are back, 2 weeks off, 54 golf returns. Live golf season is over, but golf is not done. Awesome event this weekend at the Old Course, Carnoustie, and Kingsland. I can't think of the third course. King somewhere. Anyway, a lot of Live guys played. A lot of Live guys played well, which was amazing to see. But I don't know how much you guys know about this event. I wanted to kind of catch you up on what happened. Alfred Dunhill Links is a DP World Tour event every year. It's hosted by a billionaire from South Africa, Johan Rupert, who is really into golf. I'm not sure if he's a good golfer or not, but super into the sport. All the way back in 2022, when all this started to go down, when LIV formed and the PGA Tour suspended all these guys, Rupert said that his event was always going to include all the best golfers. He didn't care where they played, and he's stuck to that. We know who won. We'll get to the golf part itself in a minute. But the biggest news, well, there was a lot of big news, but some of the biggest news was who was there playing in the amateur side, because it's a two-man team event. Like T. Hatton played with his dad, Rory played with his dad. You know, some poor guy got paired up with Jay Monahan. No, I'm kidding. So Jay Monahan played PGA Tour, and his group went out on Thursday with Yasser Al-Rumayyan of LIV Golf. And a lot of the media thought that this was like the craziest thing to see them out there joking, hugging, handshaking, doing all these things. Well, we know that they probably talk all the time, and that we know that the reason why this deal hasn't been signed is because of Tiger Woods. We all know. Enter the rest of the world into this golf event, and some of these names are, I dare I say, bigger than Tiger Woods. I don't know, but let me just name some guys here. You guys, I'd have one. Do you guys have Blackstones, like the grill?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Joe Barata is the CEO of Blackstone. He's worth almost $500 million. He played. There was a cybersecurity guy who used to be the senior VP of Google, Nikesh Arora. He's worth $1.5 billion. The owner of the Houston Astros worth $2.5 billion. And Michael Bloomberg worth $105 billion. Like, that's just some of the names of the people who were there, who have ties all across the world, all sorts of advertisement, money coming out their ass. And if the PGA Tour doesn't want to strike a deal with LIV Golf, there are way more people willing to do this who have a lot of money that they'd be willing to invest in, let's say, option B. So I want to talk about that first. I want to throw out a proposal to you guys. What do you think about this? PGA Tour dies, LIV Golf and the Asian Tour, who already coexist, absorb the DP World Tour and the Japanese Tour, and really truly form a global golf league where like only maybe 4 or 5 events are played in America.
Would it stay the same format of LIV currently, or would it go to a PGA style, back to normal and just absorb all of those different tours? I think that makes a difference. Is it gonna become its own thing, or is it going to revert back, just take the bulk of all of those other tours?
No, it's going to stay LIV Golf events. There may be fewer. So let's say there's 8 LIV Golf team events, and then throughout the rest of the season, you go around the world and you just have opens. So you have the Spanish Open, you have the Irish Open, you have the Australian Open, you have the Japanese Open. You know what I mean? You focus. So just like LIV goes to LIV Chicago, the World Tour would have the World Tour Spanish Open or whatever. And like those events, okay, you can go away from the LIV side, go away from the teams, play individual 4 rounds, standard 72 holes. You get all these great courses around the world to have the best players.
What about the traditional majors now? Do those go away?
No, you'd have to work your schedule around them, because I think those would still be the biggest 4 tournaments in the world, because the PGA Tour guys are going to play in those, right?
Right.
So
if PGA dies, all the PGA players are going to be coming over to these tours now?
Right. That was where I was, like, because you're saying PGA Tour players playing that, but there's no PGA Tour anymore in this theoretical, correct?
I mean, there's still a PGA Tour, because there's still, Scotty's not on a team, Rory's not on a team,
Ex-PGA Tour players.
Xander's not on a team. These guys are still PGA Tour members. They still have their PGA Tour card. So they would still compete in the Houston Open that no one would watch, like all these events no one would care about in America even anymore. Like they say, no, for whatever reason, Tiger Woods and his people say no to LIV Golf, which would be really dumb on their part now. They have absolutely zero leverage, especially after this event was such a success and how well the LIV guys played in it. But I just think like taking these other tours and just saying, you know what, PGA, just die, just go die, do your own thing. The sponsors will leave, right? We already saw that. That's why I started off with the business side of this. Like, we already know that they can grab Google, they can grab Bloomberg, they can grab like all these different sponsors because they have this relationship with them through this Alfred Dunhill Links Championship event. But also, like, we see it now where the LIV teams are starting to get sponsors. And you watch a LIV event and you see like Maserati or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you see these world big time companies investing in LIV already. Now you give them a more traditional pathway to golf, because I think there's still probably some people in the business world and just golf traditionalists in the business world that would want to have the Spanish Open be 4 rounds, 72 holes individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the business side of it, you probably have to somehow appeal to those sponsors, and that will also help you get the one thing that I don't care about, but people care about, is getting LIV on like just regular television. Just getting them on CBS, Fox, TNT, whatever. Just getting them on a TV channel to become more accessible. But the PGA Tour guys who decided to be loyal and now have equity in PGA Tour enterprises, including Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and Xander Schauffele and Scotty Scheffler, all these guys. Those guys would be put in a very interesting situation because now they're tied to the SSG money, that $1.5 billion that SSG invested in the PGA Tour. And if I'm telling you, if this vision that I have of all these world leagues getting together and leaving the PGA Tour out of it, who would jump immediately, my boy. I mean,
Rory.
I think it's his vision, really. It's not my vision. Like, I think his vision, and that, Shane, Tommy, like these guys are gonna follow Rory to the number one, world golf. They want to play. Matt Fitzpatrick, he said it right before the Alfred Dunhill Links. Like, I'll put his quote in right now. He said, they're not going to figure this out like over 18 holes of golf. And to be honest, I'm just tired of all the talk. And what he meant was, I'm tired of hearing PGA Tour not do what needs to be done for golf, because the DP World Tour does it, the Asian Tour does it, LIV is doing it. The only person left standing on the side right now is the PGA Tour.
Yeah. I do think, going back to one point though, you can look at the TV thing, right? Like getting their own channel as a, like, who cares? People our age and younger, you're going to be streaming anyway. So who cares if it's actually on TV? Most people cut that cord a long time ago. But if you want to bring over some people who are PGA Tour fans, a lot of them are older guys who are more committed to the PGA Tour because that's what they grew up watching, and they don't want to necessarily start something new. So those guys do have TV. I think having a set TV station or some sort of sponsorship to have TV stations is a big deal. It is. I really think it is. Like having the CW, being able to watch it on TV. I'm not talking about the CW anymore, but I'm saying having that ability, but also having an app or a streaming service to be able to watch it, I think is a plus. But I think that is important. And also, I think a cool thing, like for some of those guys that their careers necessarily aren't where they were at one point, to be able to come over and start fresh and LIV and revitalize their career, even like a Ricky or like a Duffner or somebody like that doesn't have the career that they used to have.
Justin
I
Rose.
think Justin Rose. I love Justin Rose. I really do. There's not many people, the English guys, that I like. I love Westwood, Fleetwood. I love Rosie. But like people like that, to be able to come over and just get a little bit more out of their career or play to their abilities. I mean, Ricky's obviously the first guy who comes to mind. But I don't know. I don't know what they actually feel. I don't know the loyalty they have. I don't know if it's serious to Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour, or if there's way more to it where they're like, you know what, if I get my chance, I'm going. So it all really depends on what happens.
Would you watch golf on Sunday morning and Saturday morning before football? Like, let's say the World Golf Tour existed and time zones in America, right? Football starts noon-ish on Saturday, 1-ish on Sunday on the East Coast. Like, you could have watched pretty much all of Alfred Dunhill this weekend and not missed a bit of football. Like, it ended, like 2 p.m. Eastern time. So Like the TV slot is there if the events are not being held. The majority of
the events in Europe. I mean,
right.
You know, Jets and
Asia
Jets and the Vikings played in London this morning. The game started at 9:38 a.m. So you're absolutely right, but that's only when it's in Europe. You start pushing it out further. Africa and the Middle East and Asia. You're talking about taking over Friday nights and stuff like that.
Doing the overnight golf is tough because it's like getting up super early. Like I would do it for a Ryder Cup. I would do it for something that, that's what it is or it isn't. You're either watching or you're not, and you have to get up early to watch. And it's something that's worth, not just looking at highlights. It's worth watching it live. But to do it, if it was like a world tour and that's just how it is week by week, unless they're playing in the States, that's tough. That's tough. You could lose a lot of people like that.
F1 does a really good job of putting on their events at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. I don't know what the ratings are on ESPN, but they do a really good job on the weekends of putting those events on. And they're in the Middle East. They're in Africa. They're in Morocco. They're in China, Western China or whatever. Like they're having these events on super early in America, and F1 has caught on in America. I mean, whether you like it or not, it has. So, and a lot of that I think has to do with people having the weekends off, obviously, getting up early and getting their things, together for their football day or whatever. Or just lounging around on the couch on Saturday morning and being like, what's on right now? Let me watch this race that I know is going to be over by a certain time. Shotgun start, whatever. It's not going to take 16 hours to decide the winner. And I think there's a little sliver of a window. Football is you're not going to beat football in America for sure, 100%. But I really think there is a window there in that weekend morning time. Would you watch something that ended at 4 a.m.? Would you look up the results, or could you wait till 8 a.m. and watch it from 8 to noon on a delay?
If it was 8 to noon, yeah. I don't think that's a problem at all because you're here in America. You're starting your day at that time. So, yeah, it's not too early. It's not too late. It's right at breakfast. It's perfect. But, yeah, to get up but I think golf is kind of a sport you can watch on delay or, you know what I mean? There's not many live sports that you can. I wouldn't want to watch.
To do it in the format that LIV Golf does where everybody, shotgun starts.
Yes.
Everybody
agreed.
at the same time.
Definitely. Like you said, 16-hour day. I'm not watching something like that that's all day delayed like that, because then you're on your phone. You start seeing people post here and there, social media, you're getting updates. If you could just watch it for 4 to 5 hours and watch everything, I could do that. I could put my phone aside and not look at it, But by the time you get to the 6th hole and it's the group you want to watch, you already know the outcome. Stupid.
Right. I think there's an opportunity for that. I really do. The American events are going to be tough. I think they would have to really make sure that those events were played only in the summertime where there's no football to go against, where it's the boring section of baseball season where no one's watching baseball then. You know what I mean? Basketball's done. Hockey's done. You're not competing with literally anything in July, August, even maybe most of June. So I think if LIV could focus their American season in those summer months and then spread out and do the world events the rest of the calendar year, obviously skipping the holidays. So you can't have, golf has to end in the end of September so you can have Ryder Cup, President's Cup, whatever in October. And then maybe hitting a world type championship sometime in November, when they play the match or something like that. You know what I mean? Where we have world team championship and that only happens every 2 years or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. I think there's a way to this without the PGA Tour. Is basically what I'm saying. We don't need the PGA Tour to be successful, but it all comes down to two people in golf. Always comes down to Tiger Woods, whether he wants the PGA Tour to be a part of this. And if Tiger says no, does Rory have the balls to say yes? And once Rory jumps to LIV or says goodbye to the PGA Tour, I'm going to play full-time with DP World because DP and LIV are going to make this deal. I don't know, man. It's always been those two guys. I think this winter is going to say a lot about what happens because we talked about Rory last winter. It never came to fruition, obviously. But now we're another year removed. He's another year without a major. His career on the PGA Tour, I know he wins his event every year or whatever, but he's not the same golfer. He's not. So he has to start thinking about his future too. Like Phil did like Poulter did, like all these guys ahead of him.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, it's going to be interesting. Golf is usually not interesting in these months, so I'm glad that's going to be interesting. All right, so let's look at the Alfred Dunhill real quick. The results. Tyrrell Hatton, congratulations, of course, winner 3 times. He's won this event 3 times. Him and his dad did not win the team event. We'll get to that in a second. He beat Nicholas Holsarts on the last hole. They were tied going to the 72nd hole. I heard LIV golfers can't play more than 54 holes. Bullshit. And I'm wondering, what do you think? You think he won because he's fresher at this point in the year because he didn't play as much golf as
Sure.
Colsarts, Fleetwood, Nergard, these other guys who were in contention?
Sure, that could definitely be.
You know what I mean?
Not as much on his body and, playing just enough to keep it up, and he's fresher now. Yeah, could be.
We saw David Puig finish and tie for 4th. So he's 23 years old. Everyone at PGA Tour tell you that he's a nobody and whatnot, but we watch him play. He plays well all the time. John Rahm, again, another good finish, T7, and Brooks finished T10. So 4 of LIV's, or at least 3 of LIV's top stars, Hatton, Koepka, Rahm in the mix for the entire event. Old course, you can't get any better than that. You really can't. And like I said, these type of events can happen in multiple countries around the world throughout the season, and you can get guys imagine getting, Victor Hovland to go to the Swedish Open every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My God.
Right.
You could make that an event, and I don't know. I think the PGA Tour is really, really missing out. Anyway, did you watch any of the event? You can say no.
No.
You don't watch a single shot?
No.
You missed out. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Now you're defeating our own point, saying you didn't watch this, but you think it'd be really cool if they did this, but they did this.
Well, just because I didn't watch this doesn't mean I don't think if it was set in stone, this is how it was going to be, that I wouldn't watch it.
Right.
You know,
if you knew that in every single September, what month are we in? First weekend in October was the Alfred Dunhill, which it is
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rory was going to be there, and John Rahm was going to be there, and Scotty was going to be there representing his American side.
Right. It's a big difference. Yeah.
You could really do it. They could really put that on. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, that's my spiel about what I think is going to happen this winter. Prediction. Is there a deal?
Is there a deal eventually, or is there a deal soon? What's the?
Okay.
Be more specific.
So they asked Rory this weekend before the tournament, I think on Wednesday when they were having a practice round, and they said, "Well, look, all these guys are together. Yasser's there, Jay's there, all these billionaires are there. You're here, John Rahm's here. Let's get the gang together. Let's talk. Let's hash this out. Let's make a deal." And he said, "Yeah, this is all great. I mean, this is definitely a step in the right direction." And then they put him on the spot and said, "Do you see a deal getting done?" And he said, by year's end, there'll be a deal. That is not that long. We got
right
10, 11 weeks left in the year.
There'll be a deal. There'll be a deal
With the PGA Tour?
I think by the end of January, they'll have something. I don't know if it's going to be with the PGA Tour or not, but I think they have to. They have to have something prior to the new season. I think they're going to have something in the works for people. I don't know. I have no idea if it's going to be with the PGA Tour or not. I hope it is. I hope they can come to an agreement and a conclusion and figure this out and do it for the fans more than their own personal pockets, to be honest.
Well, we know it's about. It's always.
I know it's about the money.
I'm saying about the money.
I know it's about the money. I'm saying I hope they can think about the fans as well and get this done.
They don't care about us.
Well,
I think the most important thing to
then I'll start watching pickleball, bro.
Competition.
Yeah. Yes.
It's all about
that. Is exactly
keep it about competition. Do you want to constantly be just testing yourself against the best at the majors, right? Because not everybody's invited to the majors, right? It's only some. But if you really open it up so that every professional golfer can attend some of these events, maybe not all of them, but some of them, then we will get to see the best compete against the best. Everybody involved will have an opportunity to win a big fucking purse, right? So, the sponsors get to make all their money, the tourists get to make all their money and highlight the best people that are on their thing. I don't see why the two of these can't work concurrently. They can both exist. I'm sure that any deal would still have both leagues exist. Well, let's be clear. They already do exist parallel to each other. But the idea that people can go back and forth between competing in both, if it's a weekend off from a live tournament, like if it's a weekend that live isn't playing and somebody from live wants to go play in a PGA event that they qualify for because we've gone away with OWGR or we've fixed OWGR to cover all events, right, for their rating. So, if it's a weekend off from a live event and a live golfer wants to go to a PGA event, they can and mix it up,
It's interesting because we don't have enough time on this episode to talk about this, and maybe we can talk about it next week. But the PGA Tour announced that they're changing their field size for 2025. They just announced this last week. Like they're going from 120 something to 100 max, and they're going to eliminate the Monday qualifier. And so I'm wondering if they're set. How LIV played around with the wild card this year?
Yeah.
I think they kind of set that up so that they could have these open spots in their event where, like, if Sanders Shoffley really wanted to play, you could just show up and play. I think the PGA Tour is doing something similar where they're like, all right, we know who our 100 guys are gonna be, but we still have we know that we can run a tournament with 128 guys. So why don't we just give ourselves that extra space here and stop committing ourselves to the 800th best golfer in the world because he qualified on Monday when John Rahm might want to play at, the Waste Management in Phoenix, which he's already said he wants to. Like, he should be able to just play.
Yeah.
Or qualify somehow, like Jerome's saying, like, get the rankings right, or if you're in the top 10 at that stage of the season in LIV golf, you have an exemption into the PGA Tour field. Same thing going across the other way. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a PGA Tour victory, that allows you to be a wild card.
Yeah.
If you like, or something like that.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it. I mean, we're not, obviously there are much smarter people than the three of us who are going to figure this out, but getting them to cross is definitely the number one thing. And if the PGA Tour and Tiger Woods don't want to do that, because Tiger's never going to cross. I mean, he's just not. He's not good.
No, he's too old in his career anyway. He's going down as a PGA guy.
Right. So, I mean, again, we just keep saying this over and over again. I got suspended because I said this. Tiger Woods is the reason why the PGA Tour and LIV Golf haven't struck a deal yet. So it's so obvious. Anyone who says anything differently is just being a shill for Tiger Woods at this point.